Good morning. I've been collecting stats. I've been collecting stats about average golfers in competitions on this golf course. I'm going to tell you why they're average and how they can be better than average. Take the first here. The average for this hole is really quite high, and there's no reason for it other than people trying to fit driver down a hole where a driver won't fit for their ability. I'm going to try a 3 hybrid. There are plenty of golf courses in the county of Gloucestershire that are wide enough for the average golfer to hit a driver off the first. This isn't one of them. With the average being over 5, more people are making 6s than 4s on a relatively short par 4. Now down the wind with firm ground, that 3 hybrid flew. I was certainly expecting to be 20 yards further back. But it's a lot easier to play the game from here, putting loft in your hand off the first tee, than it is to be in those trees on the right or even out of bounds. I believe the worst score here was a 9. Then all you got to do is chip and putt really, and you're better than average. Well, the second is even worse for the average. Of course, the problem is there's nowhere to start the ball left, though poplar trees get in the way. So a lot of people end up out of position on the right. I'm sticking with the 3 hybrid. On firm ground, it's going to go far enough for me, even though I've hit a poor one. But I think it's the second shot that really troubles people, because it's so narrow and that big tree on the right gets in the way. If you hit that, the ball can end up anywhere. I've hit an absolute stinker. The joy of waiting for a very long time to play the shot. But it's a straightforward chip and run. So I think if you play the second here carefully, get short of the green in 2, then you can chip to anywhere. You don't want to be in either of these 2 bunkers. You certainly don't want to hit that tree on the right. That adds up to a very big score. Now on the third here, the problem is the slice. The ball goes to the right, it goes down the slope on the right, it goes into the trees on the right, then you're chipping under the trees, but you've got to get over 2 bunkers. So by putting loft in my hand, I can hit it far straighter than if I was hitting a 3 iron or a 5 wood. And yes, I am way short. But again, you can chip to anywhere. You can walk off with a 4, and that's better than average for a long par 3. Right, the fourth. What goes wrong on the fourth? Well, it's a slice into the trees on the right, onto the 5th fairway even. You're making bogey from there, and if you pull it down the left, you're definitely making a bogey, probably a double. I'm a bit flustered at the moment. I got a 2 ball in front who are dragging their heels. Never seen anybody so slow, and a 3 ball behind in carts. I'm very flustered. But now's the time to get something bigger out. You've played 3 holes, you know how you're swinging it. So perhaps we could step up to the 3 wood. Now for those who say the 3 wood is more difficult to hit, well, you've convinced yourself that it's more difficult to hit. But in reality, even though it's got a small face, you've got a much shorter shaft. It's much easier to control, it is much easier to deliver that club head square than it is with a driver that might be 3 inches longer. And down this hole, you definitely need to be square. Well, on this blind hole, I take a lot of care over where I'm going to aim and how much I'm going to allow for the wind. And it's downhill, so you don't need to hit the ball a long way. You don't need to hit that driver. 3 wood is plenty. It's more than plenty. And just like all the previous holes, I've got the measurement to the front, because I want nothing to do with those bunkers. If I'm going to beat average, then we're definitely not going into the bunkers. We take them out of play by simply not reaching them. And again, you can chip to anywhere on this green and do better than average. 5 is even worse. It's a dogleg left, but you can't start the ball to the left to accommodate your fade. So a lot of people are in the trees on the right or back in the 4th fairway. I'm just hitting the hybrid again. Because remember, we're trying to beat the average score. We're not trying to make pars on stroke index 1. 185 front. And I know you say, oh, but you can't reach. I've got to hit my driver so I can reach. But the big problem here is missing right. If you miss right, you're making bogey. You might even make a double or worse. And of course, the average score for the hole says that people make doubles and worse. About 40 yards out. You could fly this in. I opt for the chip and run. Use the slope of the green. And we can beat that average. Remember, you're an average golfer, and there's a reason why you're an average golfer. And the way to be better than average is to be more careful. Right then, number 6. I was surprised how high the average was here for an average golfer. The problem is the wind. It's kind of like into and off the left a little bit. And of course, the average golfer slices, so it's going on the wind, and there's out of bounds down the right. Driver's a bit too much for this hole because you've got the ditch down there. So what are you going to do? Well, perhaps if we can hit a hybrid, a 3 hybrid, it doesn't get up very high, and we can keep it below the height of the trees and then just let it run out. It's not going to get blown off to the right, is it? The 3 hybrid is a very, very useful club. It's got a short shaft, so it's much easier to control. It tends to fly lower than a 7 would, so you can keep the thing out of the wind, and then it will run. I haven't finished in the best position here, and because of that I've caught it a little thin. But I'm playing a Mizuno golf ball, and Mizuno golf balls always want to go in the hole. Hey! I know there'll be comments on this video saying, well, you're a good golfer. Well, I'm not at the moment. My handicap index is 6.5. I had an absolute shocker the other day, and a really, really good card dropped off the bottom. So I went up 0.6. Yeah, 0.6. But remember, this video isn't about emulating me and my score. It's about you doing better than that average score per hole. And if you can do better than the average score per hole, well, your handicap will go the opposite direction to mine. It'll be going down instead of bloody up. Joe, I hate the WHS, because instead of getting a 0.1 back for a bad round, I got 0.6. In fact, I've gone from 5.2 to 6.5 in 3 cards. The joy of a stiff back and a sore neck, I tell you. So, if you want to ignore my actual score, please ignore my score. But just look at the thoughts that I'm giving you about how you might be better than the average score from the average golfer, if there is such an animal. Let's move on. Now the tee is forward today, it's not playing the full 180 to the middle, but the issue up here is 3 bunkers, something that the average golfer struggles with. So the only way you can do better than the average golfer is to play short.
and I've pulled it. I shall be having a word with James about that after my lesson, why my bad shot is now a bit of a pull with the irons. I know what it is, I'm just not turning my hips properly. But at least I'm here and not in the bunker. When you're in the bunker, it can be difficult getting it out, never mind getting it up and down. On to the par 5. 1.24 strokes over par. Out with a 3-wood. You could hit driver up here, it is wide enough. I just chose a 3-wood. It's not a great position, but you can knock it underneath if you know how.
The easier you hit it, the lower it goes.
Another bunker to be avoided, so I'm just taking a 6-iron and playing short of this green. Now I know someone's going to say, well, I can do better than that. And if you can, please do better than that. But the average score for this hole says that you can't do better than that. That you've made a mistake on the hole, or even 2 mistakes. So to be better than the average golfer, and to score better than the average golfer, a 6 is just fine. Almost a 5. Now we go on to number 9 now, the very long par 4. Guess what club I've got in my hand? It's the 3 hybrid again. And yes, you can hit bad shots with 3 hybrids, but they're not as bad as when you hit a bad shot with a driver. I'm only a foot into the rough. And if I put loft in my hand for my second shot, I'm going to be down the fairway. And then all I'm going to have is a little wedge. And then the wind pushes it to the right, and it's span off the green, sadly. But this is how you be a better golfer. To be better than that average that you've seen for each of these holes from average golfers. And if you were better than this, you wouldn't be an average golfer.
Well, that's the end of that. Now, I'm not asking you to emulate the exact clubs I've hit, or my exact choices, or my exact score. I'm asking you to look at those average scores, figure out how you can do better. You know, use a bit of the older grey matter and be honest with yourself. You know, if people were honest with themselves, you wouldn't see people hitting driver down the first, and yet people do. And if you stand there for an hour, or take a chair and a pint of beer, you sit there for an hour and you watch people teeing off the first with driver, you'll see, depending on the ability of the group, that 60 to 75% of them are missing the fairway. And some of them are going in the hotel. And there's a lot of 5s, and there's a lot of 6s, and even 8s and 9s. So think about it. Do yourself a favour. Ta-ra.